From the haunted backroads of America, this is your Shadow Nation.
Hey, welcome back, good people of planet Earth, and of course to our good friends in the cosmos. I'll be your host for the next hour plus, Ghostman Shano, the best in the Midwest, broadcasting live from the crossroads of America. This is your place for the strange, your Shadow Nation. Welcome back to studio, everybody, and what a good guest we have tonight. We're going to be talking about instrumental transcommunication, talking to the dead. Is it a real thing? Yes, it is. And tonight's guest does it weekly. So without further ado, tonight's guest. Tonight's guest is an author, teacher, and lecturer. She also was a diplomat between Spain and the United States for years. Her current work with instrumental transcommunication is second to none. Her new book, Glimpses of Another World, Impressions and Reflections of an EVP Operator, will be on store shelves everywhere very soon. Please help me welcome Dr. Anabella Cardoso to studio.
Thank you, Sean. My pleasure.
Such a pleasure to have you on the show tonight. Everybody, longtime listeners of the Shadow Nation know that I grew up in a haunted home. It's what sparked my interest in the paranormal. I've done it all my life, and I've seen some of your research. And instrumental transcommunication has always pulled me in. Electronic voice phenomena, all that stuff. And I think it's because, to me, I think if we're going to prove anything with the paranormal, ghosts exist, whatever, that's what we're going to have to use. Those are the techniques that we're going to be able to say, here it is, look at it, you can hear it, and this is how we got it. What do you think about that? The existence of the afterlife.
Well, I think that you are very right. And that's one of the reasons why I got into the ITC research. It's because for me, nothing less than objective evidence, as objective as it can be. I mean, it's voices or images when they are clear and loud that anybody can hear and understand, or images that anybody can see and recognize. So that's the reason why I got into ITC, because for me, it is the most, not the only perhaps, but the most convincing proof of this unknown dimension, which probably are dimensions.
You're right, Anabella. And, I had told you a little bit before the show. This is kind of a special episode to me because I haven't done one in about 4 months, guys. And again, listeners around the world, I apologize. It's been a crazy summer for me. I lost Dad about 4 weeks ago. I was telling you about that, Anabella. And I seen him, I guess for the first time ever in my life. I sat beside him, I took care of him, and I seen the transition of death, if you will. From this realm, it's funny you say realm, because I truly believe I see my father leaving this realm, transitioning into the next. And I told you a hospice nurse had came to the house, and she was there with me, and I seen all the stuff you hear about, all the stories. Nothing can prepare you for the death of a parent. I now know that. I had researched paranormal all my life. I've experimented with EVP, ITC, but nothing can prepare you until you're in the driver's seat and there's your parent in front of you. And I seen Dad slipping away, and he started reaching out to things that weren't there, and he started seeing things that weren't there. And I was telling you, Anabella, before the show, he looked over by the television. He kept saying, "Do you see that standing over by the TV?" I kept saying, "No, Dad, I don't. What are you looking at?" He kept saying, and he had this huge smile on his face, and he just laughed. And he laid back on his pillow and went to sleep. And the hospice nurse had came in later, and she said, what you're seeing is your father is transitioning. He has 1 foot in this realm and 1 foot in the next. And that's funny that you say that. What do you think, Anabella, happens in your thoughts? What do you think happens at the time of death?
Exactly what you said, Sean. It's, well, there is that transition, but still death. And this is my next book, which will be published in a few months. It's exactly about that. I've not that. Yes, I've experienced similar situation, not with my father or mother, but with one of my dogs, really. And it was very similar because I put my hand on her chest, and I could feel like a slight electrical shock, but of different kind of electricity coming from her body through my hand, and of course going away. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. Anyway, but to say that death, no matter how prepared you are to take it and not to accept it, from my side, I never do. But it's always a very horrible thing. At least it is for me.
You too. I think the reason we do this kind of research is to prove that there's more to death. There's more life to death,
exactly.
Right?
I suppose so, because I was always extremely reluctant to admit, let's put it this way, that there was something like death, called death, that or the end, or whatever, yeah, you want to call it. So I just couldn't take the idea, and I still can't,
Oh, yeah.
So I suppose this depends on each one's sensitivity, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. Over your years, your career, you've done so many amazing things. You were a diplomat for so many places, especially right here in the United States. You were a diplomat.
That was my first posting, yes.
Yes, in beautiful Rhode Island when you were out there, and you're so well respected, not only in this field, but around the world. What was it like when you were doing that? Were you in ITC at that time while you were doing that? And how did you get involved in ITC work?
No, I was not in ITC, and really nothing in the paranormal or supernatural, whatever we want to call it. No, it was only when I was here where I am now, in the northwest of Spain as Consul General, that I started experimenting in ITC with two friends. One of them was a woman who had lost her only son, 18-year-old boy, in a sailing ship accident right here in the water. I'm on top of the water, of the Atlantic Ocean. And she had tried to commit suicide some 3 or 4 times. It was a horrible situation. Sure. And I too was going through, a period of bereavement, really. So then we started experimenting. We knew about it through a common friend who knew about ITC. We did not know. We had no idea, the two of us, my friend and I. But he did, Carlos. And so we started researching the literature and finding out how to set the devices. And it's not difficult at all, but not at all. But so we started experimenting. And very soon we started getting results, EVP results, I must say. And one day when I was at the beginning of 1998, here in this house where I am now, in my studio, it's a big house, and I have a small room that I have put aside as a studio. I was alone, and I was on my own. And because I used to experiment on my own also, not only when my friends were here, but when I was alone. So this time, it was March 1998, a voice, a masculine voice, very loud, started replying to me from the loudspeaker of one of the radios. just started speaking to me. And this was very loud, indeed, as loud as I am speaking now or more.
Wow.
And so this was a very shocking, very unexpected experience. And from now on, from then on, the direct radio voices have not stopped, really.
Yeah, and that's amazing, Anabella, because I once heard, and I think it was from a Carl Sagan book, anything you hunt for long enough, sooner or later it starts hunting you. And I always found that to be kind of true with the paranormal, because over the years of doing investigations and going out and looking for these residual haunts or these apparitions, I've noticed things unfortunately, have affected my family. I've brought things back with me, even though I'm a religious, somewhat religious person, and I say a prayer when I go out somewhere, just saying, hey, God, please watch over me. I come in peace, right? Yeah. But I've had things follow me home. I had the Dybbuk box, one of America's most cursed and haunted objects. I had the author of the book and the owner of the Dybbuk box come on this very show. And days after this show, there was whispers in my home, there were shadows, and a lightning bolt had struck my car, started a fire, and a gas leak all within 15 seconds.
My goodness.
Yeah, and that all happened right after the Dybbuk box was on the show. And it was it was really something. I had to go to where the Dybbuk box was buried and come face to face with it, because it was like a shark survivor. They always say if you get bit by a shark and you're a surfer, you got to get back out in the water. You never will. So for the first time, I was frightened. So I drove to the guy's house and I asked him, can I see this thing? And it was buried in a secret location. And we went underneath the ground, and I came face to face with this thing where he had it hid. And I guess I made my peace with it. But now someone else owns it. But it did. It gave me what for. Do you ever think, when you're doing ITC, like I'm sure you've seen the Hollywood movie White Noise, right?
Yeah, I saw part of it. Yes. I know. Yes, I know the movie.
Now, do you ever...
yeah.
Do you ever feel that these things, these entities, while doing ITC, could possibly cause harm or take over to a certain degree? And if you do, how do you ward that off?
Well, it has not happened to me ever. But I know of people who say, I do not know if it's imagination or reality, but they say that it has happened to them. I think that it depends on the state of mind, of spirit, if you will, of the operator here on the earth. If it's a person with his or her feet very much on the earth and a rational, as much as you can be, of course, mind and a stable person, I don't think there is much danger. If it's a rather unstable person or somebody who is prone to delirium and so on, maybe it is more likely to happen. I think you attract the like. Well, not I think. This is has been said over and over again.
Sure.
So if you are unstable, if you are liar, if you are whatever, you will attract those contacts of the same kind,
Like attracts like.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I think. I have not had that experience at all. But I know of cases, as I say, they tell me that they experience those situations. Supposedly it is true, or maybe it's not so bad as they put it. I don't know.
Right.
Would have to be there and examine the situation. But to me, it has not happened. But I think it all depends on the state of mind of the operator here on this plane. Yeah. No, I said if you are in a benign state of mind, just hoping for the best and calm, relaxed as much as you can. Normal. Let's put it this way: normal between inverted commas. Normal. Then there is no danger. Yeah. To my knowledge, everybody I know, and I know many people in this field, they have not had those malignant contacts. What I also know is that people often think they hear things that are not there. That's another situation. Just things that do not exist. Pareidolia or auditory delusions and so on. That's very common.
We had talked a little bit about the spirit box. That's in the arsenal of every ghost hunter across the world, right? I always say I'm less of a ghost hunter, more of a paranormal experiencer. I like to go to places with my EVP recorder and some white noise or something, and I want to experience stuff. If a place is truly haunted, I really don't need a bunch of equipment to be able to prove that. I should be able to experience it, right? So with the ITC, how do you know if I go to a location that's supposed to be active and the person says, okay, come on in here. We want you to investigate who is in the house, who, what, and why, right? Who's here? Why are they doing this? We got cabinets banging, etc. What's going on? So how do you know when let's say you take ITC equipment in and you want to make contact with the person that's haunting a home, the spirit or whatever. How would you suggest one does that as an investigator? Because there's so many spirits out there, you would think it'd be hard to tap into one,
Not necessarily. I don't do field work, Well, I've done it and I have had voices, but not, how do I say, not specific voices. I've just spoken in general and asked anybody there who could contact me. And I have had voices, but I normally do not do field work or ghost hunting or whatever of this type. No, I do my ITC research experiences, let's put it this way, here in my house, in my studio. That's where I do it. So I have not done that work, but if I had to, there are many people who do, as you know. But if I wanted to do it, or if I had to do it, I would just be a little more focused. I would speak, let's put it this way, to somebody who inhabited here, who might have a problem, and so on, be more, because there are more spirits all over. Well, there are, but they are not necessarily there, or why would they be, right. Or what for, yeah?
Sure.
Well, they will not be interested, I suppose, So I would address directly the situation, if it is a house or a monument or a site or whatever. Huh?
Yeah, that makes absolutely sense. Try to get direct responses to direct questions.
Sure. That's what I would do, although I don't do it, but I would do it. I don't do it because I have so much to do.
Oh, yeah.
And I do my ITC experiments twice a week. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, Thursdays and Sundays, and that's it. And no more, because then I have to write. I have so many things that I want to do also. I listen to my recordings when they are not direct radio. I have to listen over and over, not over and over, but it's long recordings.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have not much time left anyways to go here and there and do this and that. That has never been my interest or my work, but many people are, as you know, and I know also, of course.
Anabella, what would you say was the biggest piece of evidence that you got? At what point, what was it that made you sit up in your chair and go, okay, I believe in the afterlife. I believe that this is the dead contacting us. What was it?
Well, it was It was, I have had all types of ITC demonstrations, let's say. Also images, but I no longer experiment with images. Exactly, because it takes a lot of time. Yeah. And EVP voices and direct radio voices. So what was the most impacting and what convinced me of the reality of this, of the existence of these beings in another dimension? Because they kept saying it's with names and replying to me. Oh, it is your father, João Cardoso. It's your brother, Luís. I am Luís. I would say, is it you, Luís? Of course, it's me. And so on. And who would have a conversation, you know?
Right.
And as we did with my brother in this case, or my father, or other people that I don't know, but I would ask, who is speaking? Can remember this one. And he said, it's Pedro Roque, a name that doesn't tell me anything. And then he said, how are you all right? And then he said, okay, I'm coming. So, I mean, this is a direct question. So many thousands I have asked, and thousands I have had of replies. And we are the dead. We are all dead. We live in another world. We live in another dimension. It's the dead speaking from Rio do Tempo, and then chants, and then musics. I have had all this. So they tell me very clearly, we are the dead, speaking from another world. What should I think? I don't know what else I could think, right, unless somebody explains to me that this is possible through another way, which nobody has so far. You know, this is a radio, which in my case is tuned in frequencies reserved for state use, in this case Spain, because that's where my house is, here where I am now, in Spain. So for the Spanish government, state, these frequencies have no radio emissions, they have no interferences, they have no radio ham communications. They cannot have, it's forbidden. So, you know, I mean, what else could it be?
Right.
Extraterrestrials, where are they?
Right.
you know, I have never met one. And why would they pretend to be the dead?
You're right. You know, and it's fascinating you said that when they spoke to you, we are the dead. We are...
Many times. Hundreds, maybe.
So they are aware. You know, because some people would say once they pass on, maybe they're not conscious. The conscious, right? That's the question at the moment of death. We know we survive.
Of course they are conscious. Of course they are conscious.
But they know that they're dead.
In another world, that's what they say. We are the dead speaking from another world. And where is your world? And then they don't reply, as I have asked this question years ago.
They don't.
Number of times.
They don't reply when you ask, where is their world?
Of course, how can they
right.
How can they indicate a location? It's a silly question, you
right.
know. From my part, of course. Silly question, no answer.
Have you ever had an entity or a deceased describe where they were and what it looked like?
Where is not possible, because where means a location.
Sure.
Isn't it? And so, yes, I have had replies, but it's like this. We are from beyond, how was it? We are from another dimension. We are from beyond time. Yeah? We have no time. And so many. Well, if you read my books, it's most of it is there. So So that's it. And how I have asked, how is your world? This they have replied, and very clearly, very, very loud also. A world very similar to yours, they said. And then on another occasion they said, but much more beautiful, with different values, as you would expect.
Different values.
That's it, you know.
It's fascinating. Fascinating. You know, the godfathers of ITC, some people would say Frederick Jurgensen, of course, and Konstantin Rodiv. Fascinating work that those two gentlemen did. And people, you know, have had ITC interface with them, they've claimed to anyway. Do you think, I think it was Frederick Jurgensen that said that the dead, there's like a process. Once they die, they have to build this communication with the living, you know, that people have to be in the right mindset. Do you have to build up a trust with the other side to be able to?
Absolutely. That is called, of course, that is essential. Right now I'm working on a book. It will not be my book. I just finished this one and sent it to my publisher, but no, it's another book by a very close friend of Friedrich Jurgensen. I am a devotee of Friedrich Jurgensen. I know, I was going to say, I know him very well. Yeah. I do, because I have read so much. Whatever I can read, I read.
Sure.
He wrote in Swedish and in German. But I have read so much from him, from his post-mortem communications before he died, radio transmissions with the deceased, the only one which is translated into English, and I know Jurgensen's life and so on. Now, this book I'm working in is by a close friend of Friedel, as he was called by the voices, who lives here in the Canary Islands in Tenerife. Anders Leopold is Swedish. He is a retired journalist who followed Friedrich Jurgensen for over 20 years in Sweden and in Rome, when he used to go and speak with the Pope and so on. So Anders wrote a book, My Friend on the Other Side is called. And this is an incredible book, not so much because it's by a great writer, that's not the case at all. It's by a journalist who was a very intimate friend with Friedrich Jurgensen. So he knows his personal life in detail, you know.
Now, Anabella, let me ask you, is this the book that we're talking about, Glimpses of Another World?
No. No, that is my book.
Okay.
That is my last book, which has not yet been printed. It's with the publisher, but it has been accepted for publication.
Yeah, why do you think it is that Europe is so far ahead of the United States, all over the world, really, in investigating the paranormal, especially with instrumental transcommunication? Let me clarify. Because here in the United States, you seem to get a lot more, you know, eyebrows and smirks and stuff like that when you talk about this stuff. It's very taboo here. It's not as open as what you would think. And it seems like in Europe and other places, people are, you know, leaps and bounds ahead of us in research. Why do you think that is?
Not all over Europe. For instance, not in Southern Europe, where I am. It's not. It's also taboo. Maybe not so much as the United States, but it is also taboo. It's only in play, even in Sweden it was. Now that I am reading the book that Anders wrote about his friend Friedel. So now I don't know about Sweden now, but at the time of Friedrich Jurgensen, oh yes, of course it was. But in places like Germany, this central northern Europe, I think is better. Great Britain is also more open these days, isn't it?
They seem to be more spiritual.
Great Britain. I do not know how things are now in the States. When I lived there, I was not interested, I was not interested. This was my first posting. I was a young diplomat, 30 years old or so. And no, I had no connection whatsoever with the paranormal. So I really have no experience of the United States in this field. And now I know that I am in contact with some rather famous parapsychologists, and they are not very open, to say the truth, but slightly, like Dean Radin and so on. Yeah, Sean?
Let me ask this, Anabella. When I sit down, if you were going to instruct me, if me and you were together, because tell you the truth, I've done this for years and I feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants half the time. You got some people that are like, well, you need crystals. You got other people that are like, well, you need to create your own device, make it that way it's personal and it bridges that, mystical gap between the other side and here. And I'm one guy to sit down I want to sit down with a radio. How would you walk me through? Let's say this is my first time and I'm sitting next to you. What would you say, Sean? We're going to talk to the dead. This is how we're going to do it.
Well, I would say so. Let's talk as we talk to each other. That's what I do.
What would we...
Crystals? I like crystals. So I have assembled a few crystals on one of the tables I have in my studio because I like them. That's the reason. I do like crystals. I've always liked crystals, but they are essential now. To say the truth, in my opinion, nothing is really essential, except a sane state of mind, in good disposition, tranquility, relaxation, and good intentions. That's what is the most important. And not being desperate to get contact. You have nothing to. Nothing is compulsory here, but some detachment is also, I think, commitment, but in a way, some aloofness in regards to the results. So there are results, so there are not, so there are not,
Right.
That's my opinion.
How long do you think someone that's starting out, how long do you think their sessions should be?
Around when I started, it was around 20 minutes, half an hour or so. Okay. At the time that to ask 5 or 6 questions, I'm speaking of EVP. When I started with EVP. You don't start with the ITC. Nobody starts with ITC.
Right.
Because either the voices speak to you through the loudspeakers of a radio or they never do. So there's nothing to do with you, really. It's to do with them. Anyway, with EVP, 5, 6 questions, 2 minutes between each question, and that's it, Mm-hmm. And if one day the voices reply to you into the air loud, so they do. And then there you have ITC and direct radio voices,
So you get a regular transistor radio, AM, FM, and you tune it to a certain frequency?
No. I do not have AM, FM. I have shortwave. Yeah?
Shortwave, okay. And what frequency is the most common to get these voices?
No, there are no frequencies that are more adequate or not. The frequencies should be frequencies where there are no radio emissions. Yeah?
Okay.
No human voice radio emissions. Because if there are, then you don't know what are the voices and what are the radio emissions. As I said, in mine, there are no normal radio emissions because they are frequencies reserved for state use. Nobody can get into those frequencies. No radio ham, nothing.
Sure.
So just if there is a catastrophe, then they would use those frequencies.
Now, Annabella, some people say you have to, the psychics and stuff, they get into this, well, you have to have your spirit guide, and you have to channel a spirit guide to be able to bridge the gap between the living and the dead, or the dead won't talk to you. And it starts getting very confusing to someone like me.
I don't know. I don't know about spirit guides and so on, because I'm not a spiritualist.
Right.
I have not that, how do I say, that is not my background. So I don't know about spirit guides.
Right.
Maybe I have one, but I don't know, I know that I have my communicators. My main communicator used to be Carlos de Almeida, who also spoke in Luxembourg, and that's it. But now this stuff of the spiritualist, spirit guide, and so on, I really don't know, because I'm not versed in those subjects. I'm not a person of the paranormal or of spiritualism. I am not. I'm just a normal person, in this case a diplomat, but that doesn't make any difference, who is interested in communicating or in finding out about life, if there is, or the hypothesis, let's put it this way, of life after physical death. That's all, So I don't know more than this, Sean. Because I just don't know.
Well, that's a relief, Annabella, because I get so confused. Well, I'm serious. Someone like you with all your knowledge, and because I get so confused when they start talking about that.
I believe you. I pay no attention because I'm constantly receiving letters and emails and with stuff like this. I always reply what I am replying to you, because I am replying and always do honestly. And this is exactly what I think, no more, no less.
You are. And you're an amazing person, Annabella. You are an amazing person. Listen, I know we're running out of time. I want to talk about your amazing book coming up, Glimpses of Another World, Impressions and Reflections of an EVP Operator. Can you give us a little glimpse into that and when it's coming out?
Well, it's coming out now. The White Crow Books, John Beecher, which is the name of my publisher, has it. I suppose 3 months or so. Well, this is exactly as the title says, my impressions about this discipline, this method, this way of trying the contact. And also a little bit of my personal story, my impressions when I was a little girl, and how I grew up, and my sensations and my feelings. I've always been an extremely sensitive person, but not sensitive from the point of view of the paranormal. I mean, of the normal. Let's put it this way, if you wish. I can feel everything, as my communicators said once. It's almost that. I mean, I can feel so many special things that, but not supernatural. Just I can look at a plant and I can feel the plant. I can really feel it, its essence, and so on. So. It's about that, really, impressions and reflections, and also my reflections about death, my not fear, not afraid of dying at all, but I am extremely reluctant to let the ones I love, my animals, for instance, my family members, die. This is something that can used to destroy me, So it's more like a personal story, recollections from my childhood and youth and so on. Sorry, Sean. At the end of that book, which I deliberately wrote short, it's some 46,000 words or so. there is a very simple, straightforward EVP handbook, for people who want to start. So that is the appendix.
Very cool. Very good. One thing, and I know we got to go, but one thing, Anabella, after all this time doing ITC and everything, the one person now I'm afraid to ask for is my father. I've hit that point.
I would recommend, my father died in 1993 of cancer all over. Not only kidney, but all over. Bones everywhere. Anyway, he was only 70-something.
Oh, no.
Very few. 70, very few. Anyway, so for many years, I started experimenting in 1998, very end of 97. And I used to ask about my father a lot. I am very attached to my father. I've always been. And then I remember once I said, because this is true. It's true about my father, not about me. My father was a very psychic person who could not speak about these experiences because nobody in his family would allow him to do it, because that was total taboo. And my mother used to say, don't even mention those things. That's all craziness. No. You don't say these things. He used to get out of his body, and he was very scared because he lived in the south of Portugal, where I was born, of course. But as you know, a very conservative region, and there was no literature available. But he used to have these experiences, my father, and he could only tell them to me because I was the only one interested. So he used to speak with me. Retrocognition, he used to go to a place and know everything that used to be there, but no longer existed, and so on. So when I started experimenting in ITC, I used to ask about my father. Right. And no, nothing. There was nothing about my father ever. And then one day I said, but listen, my father was so psychic. I would imagine that he would be more able to communicate with me. And what did the voice say? The voice said, that's what you imagine. That's all,
Yeah.
So that's what you imagine. So it doesn't mean that because he was more psychic, he will be more able to communicate with me. The voice said, yes, that's what you think, or that's what you imagine. I think was the word I used. I would think you would be able to communicate. That's what you think, the voice said. Very appropriate reply. And then a few years later, yes, I don't know, maybe 1999, can't remember now, I would have to go to my computer where the audio files are stored. Yeah. Yes, he did start replying to me. And and giving his name and everything. I am your father, João Cardoso. Bella, because my family always called me Bella, never Anabella. Bella, it is father, João Cardoso, speaking. Hundreds of times I must have this identification,
That is
so
amazing.
That's I was going to tell you, Sean, just give it some time, more.
Right.
Your father 4 weeks ago, it's 1 month, will still be confused, will still be not necessarily in a bad way, no, not at all, but adjusting, let's put it this way. So maybe it's too soon, Maybe. I would give it 4 or 5 months more.
Okay.
Do your ITC or EVP experiments, of course, but don't try to contact him directly. I don't believe you would, but you will get the contact. But or you can send love to him, to whoever is listening to me. Please give my father lots of love from me, or something like this,
Right. That's so interesting, Anabella, and you've been such a fascinating guest and a person.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, this is William Catt from The Greatest American Hero, and you're listening to Shadow Nation.
Okay, guys, what a great interview. I want you to remember to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you choose to listen to the show so you can get the up-to-date alerts when new episodes drop. Also, check out the website at shadownation.com for the latest news. I want to say special thanks to tonight's guest, author, lecturer, teacher, Anabella Cardoso. Her book, Glimpses of Another World, Impressions and Reflections of an EVP Operator. Thanks so much, Anabella. And I want to say special thanks to all our homes, all our sponsors, Spreaker, the world's listening. How about you? They want to know, so check them out at Spreaker.com. Our good friend Brad over at Creative Zombie Studios. Everything you need for the podcasting world. Be the best. Be creative. CreativeZombie.com. And our buddies at the SYL Project, Give, Share. Everybody needs a little bit of love. Check them out at the SYLproject.org. From the haunted back roads of America, this has been another exclusive Shadow Nation interview. Don't go changing America. You know I won't, because I love you. Good night, everybody.